I don't know if the term embarrassment of riches is appropriate here. We got so much stuff to talk about today, I might have to do 2 shows. It is an embarrassment of riches. And it's a glorious thing, folks. Greetings to you. It's a Wisdom Wednesday Mike Church show here live on the Crusade Radio Network, asking the question of the day.
What in the wide, wide world of sports is going on here?
Well, I'll tell you. Where do I start? Where do we start?
To ensure the security and continuing stability.
How about with the fat broad who couldn't get in the lift?
Will be reorganized into the first galactic empire.
I gotta change this. As soon as the libs give me new sound bites, I will.
Society.
And so I'm calling on Congress to pass these reforms, and I'm going to sign them into law. You called down the thunder, well now you got it.
You tell them I'm coming, and hell's coming with me, you hear? Hell's coming with me!
All righty, our call-in line telephone number, if you'd like to call the program today, 844-527-8723, 844-5-CRUSADE. Email address, same as it ever has been, IAMKingDude at protonmail.com. I think that's a bridge too far for most people. They just can't seem to wrap their brains around the I Am King Dude. It's a long address. So you can still use KingDude at MikeChurch.com if and you needs to. KingDude at MikeChurch.com. And the Crusader Stadium chat room is open at CrusadeChannel.com/chat. What a huge, huge day today is with the confirmation hearing of RFK Jr., which I think is going to be the most contentious of all. There's about $1.5 trillion at stake here, and the people that are parasitically feeding at the trough, poisoning people, killing people, maiming people, or whatever the case may be, come under the purview of the Department of Health and Human Services. Hopefully it can be turned back into the Department of Health and Human Services. So we will carry this hearing live in its entirety here on the Crusade Radio Network, and I will be at the ready to offer any commentary that needs to be added, but I expect a literal shootout at the D.C. Corral. Speaking of shootouts at the D.C. Corral, oh my. What did I say the other day? I said, oh my. It wasn't Lawa, it was something else. It was very funny. I was supposed to write it down and remember it. I'm going to start calling him Stone Trump Jackson. As Maggie was saying in show prep today, we've never seen anything like this. None of us have, because you never lived under the you've never lived under the shock and awe command of an actual real leader. Never actually seen one in the United States. Again, we came kind of close with President Reagan, but you've never seen anyone that's even attempted to tackle and then seemingly is having success as Donald John Trump of Mar-a-Lago is. I simply don't. I don't have words to describe some of it. Let me just hit you with this one. The story came out yesterday afternoon at CNBC, among other outlets. And as soon as it came out, I've got a lot of. We didn't print that one out. That's the one I need. As soon as it came out, I have a lot of executive producers out there. Someone sent it to me.
Are you talking about the buyouts?
Yes.
It's from Epic Times.
Here it is. I have it from the Epic Times. CrusadeChannel.com/epic to subscribe. Trump and man offers buyouts to nearly all federal employees. What? Now, I have several sources of people that work inside the belly of the beast that I still know. One's new and one is older. And both of them have been telling me that, dude, something is happening here that has never happened before. And I'm not even sure. One guy's telling me, I'm not even sure what it is. But I can tell you that something is going down. And apparently, the higher-ups in administrative state or contract state Mordor did not. The only thing they knew is that they weren't getting answers. And that they were at, well, hey, contract stuff for renewal. You're got a new fiscal year here. You got to sign this up. Actually, the fiscal year ends September the 30th. But they're not getting answers to their questions like, hey, what do you want us to do? Do we still have this gig? Are we supposed to be working on this? Working. I use the term working in air finger quotation marks. And they weren't being told. There were no answers that were forthcoming. Well, you got the answer last night, brother. I said that one of my sources said $700 billion in cuts are coming, Mike. $700 billion, which is a good start. It may be more than that. Federal employees are being offered buyouts through a new deferred resignation initiative, allowing them to resign while receiving pay until September. This is a dismantling of the administrative state. This is telling the administrative state, your services are no longer required because we're not going to do what you have been doing. That's not going to be done any longer. Folks, this may be the most stunning presidency literally since Washington. I don't have words. I don't even know what to say.
Yes.
Other than, well, Maggie you stole my thunder. I do have an answer. It is, federal employees are being offered buyouts under the Trump administration's new deferred resignation initiative, with the Office of Personnel Manglement to send emails with the proposal to federal workers. They already sent it out. I have it. Somebody sent it to me. I have it. According to Kate Miller, a member of the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE. It's just like Elon Musk going into Twitter and going like, I've looked at the work that's being done around here, and I don't think that the services of about 3/4 of you are needed any longer. So clean your desk out and you can go. And he literally did. He went in. He went, that whole building over there, you're all fired. Go home. That block over there, down that hallway, all of you, get the hell out of my business. You're all fired. And, of course, the knock was he only has 1/4 of his workforce. How's he going to manage it? Seemed to be managing it just fine to me. This is a complete and total, let's hit the reset button. Folks, in the old... back in the day, if you needed to do a hard restart on a Mac, you could Control, Command, Option, Delete. That would basically shut all of your programs down and force the Mac to restart. I know, I've had a Mac since 1989. I won't use Windows. So if you need it, and sometimes you'll get one program that will crash, and it used to be that it would take the whole machine down. That's very rare now. The Mac OS is so advanced. Now, primarily now, you can just force quit. And it's the same command if you're stuck. It's Control, Command, Delete. That will bring up the box on a Mac that will ask you, okay, what program do you want to force to quit? And you can get out of it. But the old restart button, it used to be on a Windows machine, was what? Control, Alt, Delete. You can start or shut down with Control, Alt, Delete. This is a Control, Alt, Delete. And no one saw it coming. Everyone thought this was going to be a peck around the edges, and that administrative Mordor would be left as it was, and nothing was going to change. I know all of the cynics in the Crusader Stadium chat room, and all the cynics in the New Christendom Daily Signal chat, and I'm sure out there on X.com and on Pridebook and wherever else, all the cynics where I won't believe it until somebody starts paying. Well, you're going to get about, okay, somebody says, well, how many people in the federal workforce? The estimate was 12 million. Now, I saw a report from Elon Musk today. Elon said that I don't think that number is correct. It's probably more like 24 million. Well, you can get the email. The email's out there. As a matter of fact, I'll read it to you. This is what the email says. The email says, okay. This email was sent last night at 5 p.m., presenting a deferred resignation offer. If you do not respond to this email and wish to accept the deferred resignation offer, you may do so, or if you wish to accept the resignation offer, you may do so by following these steps. 1. Send an email to hr@opm.gov from your government account. Only an email from your .gov or .mil account will be accepted. 2, type the word resign into the subject line of the email. 3, hit send. This is no pussyfooting around here. This is, we're going to fire you, but I'm going to give you a chance to get out. Take the buyout. Here's the buyout. You get your ASS out of Mordor today. You're done. Clean your desk out and go home, go find another job. We will go ahead and pay you to the end of the year. Now, what I believe is going to happen, and I think that the Trump administration is actually trying to make this happen, just like with the lawsuit that Schumer's grandstanding and all the senators grandstanding and governors going on television and pounding the dais and saying, he can't do this. Yes, he can. And saying, we're going to sue. Well, they're going to use the courts. I think that the Trump administration wants them to use the courts because they believe that it's ultimately going to SCOTUS, and SCOTUS is going to back the executive up. And that this tearing down and resetting of the administrative state is going to happen. But you need acts of Congress. You need a couple acts of Congress. Congress has to act. And then you need the judiciary, ultimately, at the highest level. You need the SCOTUS to go along and go like, no, it is completely and totally constitutional. I'm going to deal with some of this as we go along here today. Ladies and gentlemen, I should just call myself America's constitutional historian because for how long have I been telling you people, you guys are out there and you gals that listen to this show, if you have social media accounts, start using them to promote the Mike Church Show and the Crusade Radio Network. And I'm going to tell you why. I was telling Maggie this. I'm like, why isn't my cell phone ringing? Why isn't someone contacting me and saying that, Mr. Church, we are familiar with your body of scholarship on letters of marque and reprisal, for example, and we would like to talk to you about aiding and assisting us in trying to get this through. Maybe even you come and testify in front of Congress or something to that effect, or maybe you just act in an advisory role. Why go through the process of trying to learn all this when you can find someone like me that already knows it? So here's what I did yesterday, and I'm not boasting and bragging about this. I want people to go and watch this. I actually watched it and went, man, that's actually a pretty good presentation. On September the 19th, 2014, I gave a speech at Ron and Rand Paul's Liberty Political Action Conference. Same conference was spoken at by Thomas Massey, Senator Mike Lee. Nancy Mace was there. She didn't speak, but I met her. She was actually there. Ron Paul, Rand Paul. There's a bunch of people whose names you would recognize. Mark Sanford. Oh, who was the other one that I saw? Doug Weed. Oh, gosh, he was the... There's someone else that spoke. It was one of the keynotes, and he's in the Trump administration now. I spoke. Jack Hunter spoke at that conference too, as well. I spoke at that conference, and I gave 30 minutes on the inspiration of what made a founding father, which was a pursuit of fame and eternal recognition, if you will. And the second thing was that when they instituted the government of the United States, they put clauses in it that gave the American people and whatever administration would come after them the tools needed to fight enemies without having to start wars. One of them is a letter of marque and reprisal. You know that Donald Trump Jr. is now out promoting and asking his buddies in Congress to issue letters of marque and reprisal against the Mexican drug cartels. Exactly as yours truly proposed in August of last year. Remember, I did an entire show on this, and what did I say? And I think people spread the word. Senator Mike Lee said spread the word. Okay, I'm going to give it to you, spread the word. Yesterday, 38 million people saw Mike Lee. Well, they saw the first piece of the thread. It goes from 38 million down to 2, down to 400,000, down to 200,000. By the time you get to the 12th note on the Twitter thread, there's like 15 people have seen it. No attention span here whatsoever. But in any event, 39.8, almost 40 million people saw this post on X.com and gave thumbs up and what have, and loves and hearts and whatnot on Mike Lee's proposal to use letters of marque and reprisal for Congress to issue them and to go after the drug cartels. That way you don't have to invade Mexico. You don't have to start a war. You don't have to declare a war against them. You are specifying that these are the enemy combatants. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not bragging here, but that's my idea. I came up with it in August of last year, and I said, here's how this would work in practice. President Trump, if he's reelected, will declare that cartels by name and an executive order as enemy combatants, or Congress can do it. From there, then Congress can issue the letters of marque and reprisal. This is on the table now. So I fully expect that some letters of marque and reprisal are going to be offered here. This is an exciting thing because if you really want to deal with this problem and this issue and you want to deal with it in a practical, effective, almost guaranteed to have some positive impact or to work method, well then putting bounties out on members of the cartel would be one of the ways to go. And all of this nonsense about, yeah, they got guns too, and okay, fine. Are our tier 1 and above operators every bit as good as we think they are? Are they world class, the envy of the world? I think that they are, and they must be. And if that's the case, then bring it. Again, Hollywood, some of this has already been telegraphed. The last season of Amazon's Jack Ryan with John Krasinski is the Mike Church plan basically dramatized. Watch it. So Jack Ryan is basically tasked with heading up an elite group of above tier 1 operators to go and take out a specific cartel guy. The job is to take him out and then to take out his fentanyl manufacturing facility. That's the job in the Amazon Prime show. Sound familiar? So they didn't go through issuing letters of marque and reprisal, but the plan is the same. Let's go back to Stone Trump Jackson here, and what the heavy hammer that he's bringing. He's saying, you're all done. Now, let me go back to what I was saying earlier. Why do they want this to go to the courts? you need to undo the acts or the executive orders of Kennedy, number one, establishing civil service. Civil service is a misnomer. It needs to be wiped from the American consciousness. You're not a servant. You took a job because you're probably fat, stupid, and lazy, and you didn't want to go out and achieve anything, and you wanted guaranteed income and a McMansion for your family. I don't blame you. And you don't really have to do much to do it if you get inside the federal administrative state. Some gigs pay upwards of $150,000 a year. Yeah, you can afford a McMansion on that. And you don't have to pay Social Security tax. This needs to come to an end. So you have the businessman now, the art of the deal guy, basically going, they get what? They're paid? No, they're not servants. The American people they're the boss. They hired me to come in and do this. He's going to freaking do it. Nobody could see this coming. You know, back to the article here from the Epic Times. By the way, this is what conservatives, tradcons as we call ourselves, this is what tradcons have been calling for since Barry Goldwater. And just think, you started with an administrative state that was in the thousands. Now it's mushroomed into the tens of millions. But this is what Goldwater, of course, Goldwater would ultimately renounce some of that. This is what Mr. Republican, Senator Robert Taft, those guys that started Human Events in the National Review, this is what they have been talking about for 70 years. Most of them aren't alive to see this. This is the plan. And it was always, if you read old school conservatives like Joe Sobran, read old Pat Buchanan stuff, it was don't make deals. We don't want to make a deal with the New Deal state. We want to bring the New Deal state to an end. And that's what's happening. This email is being sent to more than 2 million federal employees, Stephen Miller wrote in a post on X, in which he shared a report by Axios indicating that the Trump administration will offer to pay eligible federal workers to the end of September, provided that they hand in their resignations by February the 6th. Is February the 6th the new Independence Day? Sounds like it to me. Folks, we're just getting started. Buckle in! Like Tarzan boy. A friend of mine is saying, KingDude, for the love of God, don't call him Trump Wall Jackson or Stone Trump Jackson. That didn't end so well. Yeah, but I'm here to make the stone wall a stone again. Make it again. Greetings to you, Crusaders across the amber waves of Trump's destruction of the deep state. Mike Church here with you on the Crusade Radio Network. Okay, got a big ask here today. We need to move 400 tickets before Friday morning. So you got 2 days to win my AR-15 or one of the other fabulous prize packs. There are 6 in all. You can buy an individual ticket for each one, or you can just buy tickets for one if you just want my autographed, custom-made AR-15 from Daedalus Tactical. Go to shop.mikechurch.com. $10 gets you in the contest. What if you buy one of each? That would be $60. Or if you buy 6 of each, so that's 6 for $50, you get one free. Then that would obviously be a $300 ask. Fantastic. We need to sell. The goal is, this is to equal last year's 400 tickets. Is this you? Maybe you don't have any, but you want the AR. Maybe you don't want the AR. How about the prayer plaques? By the way, why doesn't anyone want the prayer plaques? If you had to make them yourself, it would take you weeks to learn how to do it. If you bought them from someone that didn't have a jig and didn't make them by hand, which 53 Ford truck did, you'd pay $60, $70. I paid $85 for that. See that crucifix right back there? That is made out of olive wood from people that live in Bethlehem. Actually, I got that from Bethlehem. That just the carving of that cross costs $85 out of olive wood. So those prayer plaques are worth every $10 to win them. If you buy a ticket for the prayer plaque, you're guaranteed to win it as of now. Shop.mikechurch.com. Click the gun at the top of the page. Start buying your tickets today. Let's have a great contest on Friday. Let's have hundreds upon hundreds of you sitting here with your tickets in your hand. Oh boy, I can't wait. Am I going to win? I can tell you, though, right now, to win 53 Ford trucks, it's the Our Father, it's the Hail Mary, and the Glory Be. 3 different plaques. Hang them on your wall. They're custom handmade. They're beautiful. They're beautiful wood. If you go buy a ticket right now, you are guaranteed to win it. It's yours for $10. That's an act of theft. If I were you, I just out of sympathy for us, I'd go buy 10 right now, just to say, okay, KingDude, you're going to have one, all right, I got all 10, I'm going to win it. Fantastic, that's you. Shop.mikechurch.com. Don't forget the dolls from Mary. We also have 0.0. Apparently, no one wants one of these coffee mugs. This mug costs $45 in the Founders Trading Post store. Right now, you can get one with 4 bags of coffee and those 3 boxes, jars of spice for $10. And again, if you buy a ticket for that prize pack right now, it's yours for $10. So, 400 is the goal. Can we get some action on this today? Shop.mikechurch.com. Click the AR at the top of the page. Thank you in advance. I almost want to start with digital media files here because there's so much stuff that I want to talk about. Let's talk about Tom Homan for just a moment. And let us talk about here. Oh, folks, this is what a law enforcement officer used to look like in these United States. This is what, if you watch the old cop shows like Streets of San Francisco with Carl Malden and Michael Douglas, a very young Michael Douglas, that's what a cop looked like, is Tom Homan. He was Carl Malden from Streets of San Francisco. And he just doesn't care. You can see why Trump picked him, because he just doesn't care. Some woman asked him, we had the soundbite yesterday, some reporterette from England was like, well, do you have to put those poor prisoners in big, mean, scary, gray military planes? Why did you do that? And Tom Homan goes, well, because President Trump told me to. And that's it, just like mic drop, walks away, because, well, Trump told me to do it. So, carrying out the law. Let's talk about Caroline Leavitt for a moment. Yesterday's press conference, the first from the new White House, looked to me like they made the room a little bigger. It's deeper. It goes further to the back. There are more seats in there. There were all manner of new media, including she's my acquaintance. She's not really a best friend of mine, but I can say I interviewed her and I met her. Monica Page with Turning Point USA, who actually got a question in. Caroline Leavitt is a refreshing, lovely change from Blackety Ann, Corinne Jean-Pierre. She's not sitting up there spouting off a lie that she had to memorize, which KJP, and by the way, we're finding out every day now a new deception from the Biden regime is being discovered. And someone is ratting people, is saying, this is what they did, and they left it like this. So Caroline Leavitt gives the press conference yesterday. She is ready for the stupid egg question. By the way, I had the answer to the egg question. Now, this is something that the president shouldn't do, but he could. It's not constitutional, but who cares? Order that all the HOAs in the United States can no longer prevent people from keeping chickens in their backyard. Egg crisis fixed. Eggs will be going for 50 cents a dozen. If you had people where I live in my bougie development, if I were to have chickens back there, somebody would rat me out and say, yeah, he's growing chickens in his backyard, it's against the HOA. If you want to bring the egg crisis to an end, Grow your own eggs. Become chicken lady. Become chicken man. It's as simple as that. By the way, Caroline Levitt was right. She goes, well, the previous administration actually had 100 million chickens executed who did nothing wrong and supposedly had a flu. So if you want to start blaming people for the high price of eggs, go talk to Biden if you can find him. It's a new day, folks. Here, I'm going to move on. Let's talk about the lift. We have a soundbite today from Sarah Huckabee Sanders, the governor of Arkansas. Are you showing them that? Do you have the? What's the fat rapper? What's the fat rapper broad's name? Too fit to get into a too unfit to get into a lift. This ginormous fat Demos. Dank Demos. You know what? Dank. When I think dank, I think like putrid, smell, stink. I think dank, I think skank, I think stank. Stink, stank, stunk. like in the Grinch. Have you guys heard this story? This woman is an overflowing glacier of a slob. She's easily 500 pounds. She calls a lift, and the lift driver shows up, and she comes waddling out of the house or rolled down the steps, or however she got down there. And the lift driver is seeing the blob coming.
My tires can't move.
And he takes off. He goes, nope,
Tires?
not doing it. He burns rubber and gets the hell out of there. And she calls and complains, why didn't you pick me up? And he says, my car wasn't made for someone your size. You're going to have to call a van. She's suing him. She's suing him. Now, how am I going to relate that to Sarah Huckabee Sanders? Easily. You know, it's almost like we're all either thinking like the same, or there are people out there that are listening to the Mike Church Show and writing things down and going, I got a great idea for you, Governor. What did I say yesterday about welfare? Just bring it to an end. We now have a count now. There are 220,000 unemployed on benefits, on welfare and SSI benefits under the age of 30 and over the age of 18 in the state of Arkansas alone. And Sarah Huckabee Sanders had a press conference yesterday going like, that's over. You might as well go out and go find yourself a job because you're getting cut off. I am here, she says, I am today applying to the Trump administration for a waiver to cut you off. You will receive no more benefits. If you're able to work and you refuse, you're cut off. And she said, you're cut off of Medicaid, you're cut off of AFDC, you're cut off of welfare, you're cut off of SSI. She signed the executive order. Folks, I hope Governor Landry signs one today right here in Louisiana. And I hope Ron DeSantis does one. I hope Kay Ivey does one in Alabama. And I hope Greg Abbott does. Across the great South, the great MAGA South, let's make welfare a thing of the past. This is how you bring a workforce back into existence. You cut them off their check. Take it away from them. They'll either starve to death, turn to a life of crime, turn to mommy and daddy, who should say, get the hell out of my house, bitch. Or they'll go to work. Right across the street from my house yesterday, I went out, ran an errand, I ran some packages. Folks, I'm your delivery guy. I go to the mailbox, the post office for you guys every day. Maggie boxes it up. I take it to the post office. They all know me by name. The postmaster that's there, his name's William. He teases me every day. He goes, I wonder what tie you were going to wear today. So they see me coming. I come back from the post office yesterday, and there is a construction crew that has a scaffolding set up on a townhome right across the street from where we are in this bougie development. There's a bougie townhome development. Guy just bought the joint, and he is paying to have. He didn't like the facade. He wanted to have a stucco facade, so they tore the siding out. They're putting stucco up. Well, I'm sitting there and I passed the guy, and I didn't notice it at first when I went out. Well, when I came back, I got a better view, and I slowed down, and so I counted. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 very dark-skinned, short people were working on the stucco. Miniature play, you're such a big hit. 5 very short, dark-skinned people who aren't blacks were working on the stucco. I don't know if they're here legally. Maybe they are. My point being, there wasn't, you talk about discrimination. Where's the white kids out there that can hammer roofing shingles to a roof? You know how many of those are out there today?
0.0.
Where's a young black kid out there that actually can lay bricks
0.
like his grandpa?
0.
None. They're not interested. You know why? They're on Sarah Huckabee Sanders' welfare rolls. They're on Jeff Landry's welfare rolls. They're on Ron DeSantis' and Brian Kemp's welfare rolls. They're on in South Carolina Governor McMaster's welfare rolls. They're on Governor Youngkin's welfare rolls. Kick them off. File the executive order, send a letter to whoever in the Trump administration, ask for the waiver, let them take you to court. And I told Maggie, I'm like, this just goes back to the 1996 bill that Bill Clinton signed that came out of the Gingrich Congress, which was the end of welfare as we know it. It was supposed to be means tested. If you are able to work, you have to. You cannot be a parasite on the state. Fully expect. Now, is this going to cause all the shiftless, worthless, lazy-ass young people to go move to Michigan or some blue state that's going to protect them and pay them? Well, when the Trump administration informs them, like he's going to inform California and Michigan and other welfare queen states, you're cut off. If you don't means test, you're not getting a penny. I'm not going to let the Treasury write the checks, which you're going to hear the screams and howls of the usual suspect. This is inhumane. No, it's inhumane to deny young people the ability or the opportunity to find a trade or a skill, to work, and then to start a family and to support that family with that work. That's what needs to end. That's where the crime is. And because they don't have to do it, many of them are choosing not to. What if they have to? All of this falderall about how we're going to rebuild families, how we're going to get the birth rate back up. Send young men out to work. Send young men back to work. Cut them off. That's how. Mike Churchill here on the Crusade Radio Network. A memo from this office here, from Doge, circulated on January 28th in the agency Alliance reporting from Axios, cited by Stephen Miller. Well, this Stephen Miller guy, dude. This guy is another one with Trump that means business and just doesn't care. No, you're all wrong. No. You're all used to. I told you on November the 6th, something has changed. My friends, it actually has changed. Hey, if you're watching on the YouTube channel, I need you to do a couple of things for us so we can grow the network. By the way, we have 2,000, subscriber number 2,000 in sight. That's an elusive goal for a little organically populated channel that had 0.0 subscribers in the second week of May, because we just launched in the second week of May. We didn't buy any. No one sends anyone to our channel. It's us marketing and doing the live show every day. So hit that subscribe button down there. Hit the bell so you get notified when we go live, and then give us a thumbs up on the broadcast today. And thank you very much in advance. White House did not respond to a request for additional information about the initiative. One of the objectives of DOGE is to reduce the size of the federal workforce as part of its broader mission to enhance governmental efficiency. This has happened. This is not perspective here. Now, this has happened. 2.1 million are fired. You know, if you look at the thumbnail for today's video versions of this show, it's that artwork that I did a couple of years ago of Obi-Wan Kenobi, but I made Trump Obi-Don Kenobi. And it's Obi-Don Kenobi quoting that line from Star Wars, I felt a great disturbance in the federal workforce, as if millions of voices cried out in terror and were suddenly fired. You're all fired. True story. CNBC headline. Trump administration offering buyouts to nearly all federal workers. It's actually happening. If you continue on the Epic Time story, employees will continue to accrue retirement benefits during the deferred resignation period, while those who missed February 6th deadline to submit their resignations due to factors like being on leave may be granted an extension. The memo states employees will also be allowed to accelerate their resignation date to earlier than September the 30th, but no extensions will be permitted. In other words, you're done. It's over. What is this going to do? I just talked to dude number 2, my brother, Mac. Dude, what is this going to do to your McMansion market in Mordor? How are these people going to pay their mortgages? I'm going to tell you right now, if you're a bureaucrat sucking down 150 large a year, sitting there working remotely, pushing paper to make people's lives miserable, and making up rules that no one's ever going to read, and most people aren't going to abide by. What is it that, this is the firing scene in Office Space. We should get that ready next hour. What is it exactly that you do here? Well, do you write the software? Do you work with the engineers? Well, no, not my secretary does, but did you contact? Well, I can. What is someone who is a Pete Buttigieg, who's never produced anything in their entire life other than mortal sin and Satan worship? What is someone like that is a federal bureaucrat, maybe even a contractor or subcontractor? I almost feel pity for them. Dude, where are you going to get someone to pay you $150 large a year to do nothing? They're going to be, you know what the result of this is going to be? Well, you're either going to figure out how to be productive and start your own business, or join someone that is starting one, that is actually making something that people need and will buy. And by the way, simultaneously to this, you got to cut down. You got to trim the unemployment racket. And it is a racket. And I bet that they know this and they're doing it. But here's the question. What is a teat suckler who's yanking down 150 large from us? What are they going to do? Who is going to... First of all, I don't know that there are an awful lot of jobs out there that pay that kind of money, number one. Number two, I certainly don't think there are any out there for people that are like, well, why do you want to work here? Well, here, describe to us your average day, Mr. Former federal employee. If you come to dumbass, what are you going to do here on an average day? Well, I would come in, I'd hit Control Alt Delete and start my computer. Then I go over to the coffee bar and I go make the coffee. And then by about, 8:30, 8:35 or so, I would then, I go back to the desk and I would see if there were any memos for me.
You look at the videos of the kids that worked at the tech companies, going to the coffee bar, eating lunch, meditating.
Is there, can you, what are you saying, Maggie? It's a Maggie Minute coming up here, folks.
Remember the videos that we had that were out of the young kids at the tech places that were going to the coffee bar, then having breakfast, then doing meditation rooms and doing all this. They had a wine bar and all that kind of stuff. That's the same stuff.
This is at Google. You're talking about at Google.
Yes.
That's the only place in the world you can do that. They had that at Twitter, too, and Elon fired all of them. By the way, my daughter number 3, is telling me that Sean Duffy got rid of cafe standards yesterday. Folks, pinch me. Are you freaking kidding me? By the way, I could do an entire hour on cafe standards. Again, We don't need to bring experts in to tell you about this. Like I tell you, corporate average fuel economy. It is killed. It has made the big three auto manufacturers utility companies that work for Mordor. Apparently, President Trump wants them to work for you and to work for your dollar. Can you imagine? Boy, there's so much we could do with this. Imagine this. Where does a federal EPA or Transportation Department employee, how do they get to their so-called job site? Your time starts now, Roger. Best of luck. The Mike Church Show Jeopardy question is, how does a federal parasite get to their job site? All right, time's up. Let's go to our contestants. Let's see. They go in one of those white Crown Victoria cars. You've all seen them. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Can you believe they still make that ugly-ass Crown Victoria? Or they go in a nondescript white Ford F-150 pickup truck. Pretty much the entire federal fleet is either a Crown Vic or an F-150. Where do they get them from? Your time starts now, Roger. Best of luck. Oh, wait a minute. Well, they buy them from Ford. Do they pay for them? Hell yeah, they pay for them. Does the federal employee who gets his take-home Crown Vic or his take-home white F-150, does he pay for it? Hell no, he doesn't pay for it. Who pays for the insurance? Want to guess? He's about this tall, he's green, he does a lot of TV commercials in an English accent. Geico pays for his insurance. This is all coming to an end. You're going to have a fleet of 150,000 trucks and Crown Vics being purchased a year. Is now not going to happen because of Trump. Performing this show with half my testosterone tied behind my back just to make it fair. An oasis of toxic masculinity, Catholic and constitutional common sense, all rolled up into one in opposition to the despondent pleas, cries, whines. The single, angry, ugly cat ladies. Remember, our slogan for the year is, frankly, Margaret, I really just don't care. Somebody said that the J.D. Vance Industries is going to be founded. Number one selling T-shirt. And the land is, I really just don't care, Margaret. J.D. Vance's response to supposed journalist Margaret Brennan on Sunday talk shows, we just keep taking these people out. Stephen Miller, this was a public execution of Jake Tapper yesterday. He literally executed him and his career, not that it was that hard, live on CNN yesterday. Lots to talk about here today, folks. It is a grand, glorious day. 2.1 million federal bureaucrats are G-O-N gong. See ya. This is going to be fought in the courts, as are some of the other Trump spending cuts. That reminds me, I want to play, before we get to RFK Jr., we're going to talk about the RFK Jr. confirmation here today. But by the by, prior to him becoming a Doge Republican and a Make America Healthy Again Republican, Robert Francis Kennedy Jr. was the darling of Democrats. I'm a congressman from Massachusetts. I'm as dumb as a box of hammers. My name is Edmund Markey. There's a cargo on the cargo planes. And I brought young Robert RFK Jr. into my committee to testify here on the horrors of coal-fired electricity and what it's done to the fish and the mercury in the water. 2008, Edmund Markey got RFK Jr. to testify in front of Congress to try and get John McCain's cap and trade scheme passed. Again, you people that wander away from the Mike Church Show to go looking for other content, I don't know why you go, because it's pretty much I know everything going back to 1992. And then before that, American history. They were trying to get cap and trade passed. This was John McCain's baby, and it looked like it was going. As a matter of fact, had it not been for Senator Jim Inhofe of Oklahoma, it would have passed. Inhofe single-handedly stopped it. But they brought RFK Jr. in there to testify against generating power by coal, and saying that in 49 states, the fish were inedible because they had too much mercury in them. Mercury coming from the sulfur dioxide runoff or burn off from a coal-fired generating plant, which would then settle down. The smoke would get into the ground water and into the rivers and such. You know, the only state that you could supposedly, according to RFK Jr., eat the fish from was Wyoming.
And that's just because they didn't test it.
And that's the only reason you could eat fish in Wyoming without dying of mercury poisoning or fear of it was because they weren't testing for mercury. In any event, fast forward to today. Now here, pause that right there. News reports have claimed that I am an anti-vaccine or anti-industry. Well, I am neither. I am pro-safety. I worked for years to raise awareness about the mercury and toxic chemicals in fish, but that didn't make me anti-fish. All of my kids are vaccinated, and I believe vaccines have a critical role in healthcare. So this is the shot across the bow, because they're going to come after him with this. By the way, Nicole Shanahan, who was a billionaireess, she ran as his vice presidential candidate until they both threw in with Trump. Nicole Shanahan has pledged any Democrat that tries to take RFK Jr. out, she is going to personally primary them. She didn't say Republicans, she said Democrats. And she has $1 billion to throw around. It's a new day, folks. This is just new, and it's exciting. And I can't wait to see what the United States of America looks like rolled back to government spending levels of 1981. Can you imagine the productivity of the American citizens out there? You're either going to produce or you what? You're going to move to Canada and go get on their welfare system? Guess what? We're going to bankrupt them. When we start tariffing the crap out of Canadian cars and lumber and oil and stuff, as President Trump has said, we don't need anything from Canada, which is why they should join the union if they're smart, because I'm going to tariff. He says this now. I'm saying this in context. I'm going to tariff the shit out of them. Now let's talk about RFK Jr. and his confirmation and make America healthy again. She is allegedly a woman. I don't know. How do you prove this? Play digital media file number 18. This is Dank DeMoss. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have small children, you will want to remove them from the television screens. What you are about to see should never be seen by human eyes. Everyone needs to cover their eyes. You have never seen horrible ugliness. By the way, let's make fat shaming fun again. If you're a fat bastard, yes, I'm going to call you a 4X fat bastard until you're a 3X fat bastard. And then I'm going to call you a 3X fat bastard until you're a 2X fat bastard. And then I'm going to call you a 2X fat bastard until you're a 1X fat bastard. You know, maybe some of you maybe need to be 2X fat bastards.
They're tall.
because you're just big. But 4X, 5X, no, dude, no, you got to cut this out. This creature was refused a ride by a Lyft driver who went, yeah, you're going to break my axle. Sorry. Dude took off. I mean, can you blame the guy? Look, I wouldn't give her the ride because I would be afeared for the smell. I'd be going like, you remember when we were little childrens? All of you that are my age, remember when we were little childrens, there were so few fat kids, but if you had a fat kid in if you had a fat kid that was in your class or whatever, and again, they were very rare. Remember you'd say that, oh man, fat kids stink. Everybody knew this in the 70s if you were going to school. Fat kids smelled. Because people would say, oh no, Charles Caldwell is in my homeroom again. And people go like, what's so bad about that, Mike? Church? Because he used to sit next to me in homeroom. He smells. He's a fat kid. He stinks. And people would go like, oh, man, I got a fat one in my... Remember when they would seat you in class by your last name? A is the front row. If your name was Adams, and last name was Adams, you were front row, far right, right? And if your name was Zelensky, you were far left, back row, all the way at the back of the class. And then you knew the last names of all the fat, smelly kids. And you'd be going like, oh, no, please don't put Christopher Caldwell in my class. And then you get in your homeroom and you'd have to sit next to him. This is what an unhealthy, uncivilized society that's not serious about anything produces as a celebrity. This woman should be in a Ripley's Believe It or Not exhibit. And I pray for the sake of her own health that somehow she can be made back into a human being again, because this obesity now is almost unrecognizable. But here you go. She's suing Lyft because the guy didn't want his car stunk up and his axle's broken because she weighs 500 pounds and she refused him a ride. He refused her a ride. Watch.
Blanding tells us she was just trying to get to a Detroit Lions watch party this month when her Lyft rolled up.
As I'm walking, I see him like making faces or whatever. I'm like, oh man.
She already knew.
I can fit in this car.
No, believe me.
No, you can't.
Yes, I can.
Believe me.
He told her there's not enough room in his car.
The kicker part was when he started to talk about his tires. You know, I feel like that was a slap in the face. That was like my tires, you know, like.
The driver said his tires could not handle her weight.
Every big person you turn down because they can't fit in your car?
Yeah, because they need to order the Uber XL.
No, I don't never have to order Uber XL.
He apologized, canceled the ride, and left her there. The rapper says she's pretty tough. I get the money and flip it and make time food. Dank DeMoss, as she's known at the mic, is crushed by the whole situation.
I just want them to know, like, it really hurt my feelings.
It looks like Lyft might be hurting pretty soon, too.
I knew it was illegal, and I knew that it was wrong.
Her attorneys, John Marco and Zach Runyon, say weight is a protected characteristic in Michigan by law.
It would be no different than a driver pulling up and saying, you know, I don't want to have black people in my car, or I don't want to have Christians in my car, or Muslims in my car. It's the same. Under the law, it's the same.
The lawsuit is filed. Since she posted the encounter on social media, other full-figured folks have reached out saying the same thing happened to them.
Hey, man, your mom is so fat, she got refused a ride by a Lyft driver. Oh, yeah, well, your mom is so fat, her ass only fit, he got to have 2 zip codes to fit in. Remember that? I can fit in here, cop. I've been at this game a long time, and I've been fighting against this. I never understood. You know, when Ron Paul was running for president, when Rand Paul ran for the Senate, the leftard, I can't remember who it was, that he was running against, tried to take him out because Rand had written a piece for LouRockwell.com or something to that effect, and he had said something about the effect of private property upon things like this. And Rand Paul had said, now he ultimately retracted it. And he just went, you know what, I'm not going to fight you. I'm just going to say that I agree with you, even though I don't. You're right. I'm just going to move on. Rand had said, you people that live in Kentucky may remember this. Rand had said that if someone wants to refuse service to anyone, and it's on their private property, they should have the right to do so. Now, of course, the Americans with Disabilities Act comes into effect here, and then the Civil Rights Act, and the Equal Employment Commission, you name it, federal agencies come out of the woodwork, or your state will come out of the woodwork. Like in Michigan, you can't discriminate against fat bastards. It's actually a law. And so now your private property, again, is now not your private property. I think that is wrong. Now, I am not you're a pro-bigot, you're pro-discrimination. No, I'm pro-private property. If I don't want certain individuals on my property, it's my property, then I don't have to sell to them. Now, it may make me a marked man in commerce, and it may be stupid for business, especially in America. But it's my prerogative. It's Bobby Brown. It's my prerogative. And if I want to do it, then it ought to be legal to do it. Now, Rand said this, and it almost cost him that Senate seat. I mean, they ran ads against him. This was the primary focus of Rand Paul's election, I want to say in 2010, to the U.S. Senate, that he was a bigot. And he was for discrimination. He was pro-discrimination, and he thought the law should say you can discriminate. No, the law should be neutral on it. The law should say it's your property and your decision. You know, it's an amazing thing here. No one barks at anyone that wants to deny peaceful Second Amendment constitutional carry people from entering their place of business with their firearm. You want to deny someone access to your business because they're wearing a gun, or they're legally open carrying, or you find out they're legally concealed carrying. You're pretty much allowed to do it, and the leftards think it's the greatest thing since the proverbial slice of bread. I think that the restoration of private property, eliminate all property taxes. They are immoral. They should be illegal. You cannot tax my property under the threat that if I don't pay it, you're going to put a lien on it and come and take it. That means I really don't own my property. We can talk about all these things in the abstract here on the Mike Church Show. Let's get back to Robert F. Kennedy Jr. So what impact is this going to have if he is confirmed? Well, play Sarah Huckabee Sanders. This is the impact. Now, in Michigan, this overflowing glacier of a woman now has rights and doesn't have to lose a pound. I think that someone that is that fat is not going to survive very long anyway. It's not an act of charity to say, oh, fat is the new beautiful. No, it's fat and it's ugly. And it's always been fat and ugly, which is why they put them in the circus for 2,000 years. Okay? So there's a lot of people who are listening right now that are fat. Look, I got a little to lose myself. This has been done to us by the food supply. RFK Jr. will make great strides in bringing that to an end. For those that think, especially you cynics out there, none of it's ever going to get done. Well, did you ever think 2 million federal employees were going to get whacked? By the way, I have more to say on that. Stay tuned. Because you shouldn't just be whacking, President Trump, those at the low end of the pay scale. Go up the ladder. The contractors at the head of the law firms, fire them. The ones that actually own the McMansions, fire them. Start over. They are part of the cancer too. All right. Sarah Huckabee Sanders. We love Sarah Huckabee Sanders. Watch. This is now going to happen because your vote, America, mattered. You elected President Trump. She can now do this. She could never do it with Biden or Obama, but she can now do it here. If you live in Arkansas and you sat on your hand, I'm not voting, it's not going to match federal election, it's all rigged, blah, 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 blah. Okay, well, roll this up, put it in your pipe, and take a real big, long draw on it because we helped solve your problem because we did vote. Watch.
We want to give Arkansans a hand up, not
I love
a
that,
handout,
Arkansans.
and giving everyone an opportunity to live their best life right here in Arkansas. That's why today I'm announcing that our state will seek a waiver from the Trump administration to let us create a Medicaid work requirement. The requirement is simple. If you want to receive free health care paid for by your fellow taxpayer, able-bodied working age adults have to work, go to school, volunteer, or be home to take care of their kids. 220,000 able-bodied working age adults in Arkansas receive free health care courtesy of the Arkansas taxpayer. It costs us more than $2.2 billion each year and growing. Of those recipients, estimates show that nearly 90,000 have no job. Most Arkansans work hard to pay for their health insurance, but many of these healthy adults don't work at all and receive it for free.
She's going to do welfare next. So that was just a shot over the bow for Medicaid. That was 90,000 of them don't even have employment. 220,000 of them are able. And I'm asking the Trump administration to give me a waiver so I can cut them off. Folks, this is not your grandpa's Republican Party. This is not 1981. It's what they should have done in 1981, but didn't have the stones to do it. And now it's actually getting done. Let's go back to the fat broad and the Lyft driver. What is she actually supposed to get from this lawsuit? Are they going to deliver like a crate, Twinkies and Ho-Hos to her house? Is that the payoff? What does she want? I want real estate. Remember Lucy Van Pelt and Charlie Brown? But it's not what I really want. What does she want out of this?
Millions of dollars.
She wants millions of dollars, and she wants to shame the guy that went, dude, you're going to break my tires. No, I'm not going to. Now, let's follow the Rand Paul argument out. Is the inside of your automobile an extension of your home? Where's Richard Barrett at when I need him? Barrett, are you there? I think Barrett actually had to go report for his actual gig. Your car is an extension of your home. If you have the right to carry in your home, then you have the right to carry as the inside of your automobile is an extension of your home. So does the Lyft driver, does he have to admit the stinking, smelly, fat rapper into his home for dinner? She shows up for a ham sandwich because she's hungry. And she said, well, I walked on a government property, a public street to get here. Yeah, so what? That's your private property. You have to admit me in, and you have to feed me. Would anyone make this argument? And the answer to the question is no, no one would make the argument. Is it lawful? Is it legal? It probably is. You know, they love to use this. You have to do it because you're on a street that's owned by the public. Well, that's a misnomer. The public can't own something. At the end of the day, either someone owns it or no one owns it, and then you say everyone owns it. So is the inside of my automobile my property, or is it not? I think that's a fair question to ask, and that's how So fat people are designated as a protected class in Michigan. I have a question for you Michiganders.
How did y'all let that fly?
Are smelly people designated as a protected class?
Does that mean they get an extra leg at the chicken place? What does that mean?
Maggie wants to know, does that mean that they get an extra free leg at Kentucky Fried Chicken? Excuse me, manager, I want a manager. Yes, ma'am, can I help you? Under Michigan law, I am a fat bastard. And I am a protected class, okay, you see. I ordered a 4-piece, but I asked for an extra leg because I'm fat, because I need 5. I need more. I need more calorie and more fat. And your little hoe over there, she only gave me 4 pieces, so I want my extra piece free because I'm protected class. You got to feed me. Does anyone think like this? Who thinks like this? Well, you think like that in a society that has been run by communist leftard nutbags for the last 100 years.
It's the only state that has something.
And Michigan is the... So all of you fat people should all move, especially the ones that can't lose any weight or don't want to lose any weight. You should all move to Michigan, become protected fat bastard, a protected class of fat bastards, and wherever you shop, demand extra. Wherever you buy food, demand extra, and tell whoever it is that's waiting on you or helping you that it's the law. The fastest 3 hours in all of radio and television. The Mike Church Show is on the Crusade Radio Network here on a Wisdom Wednesday. This portion of the program brought to you by the Have Yourself a Merry New Year, Merry and Manly New Year Christmas contest, which we extended to this Friday, meaning you got 2 days left to get your tickets, and I'm asking for a big heavy lift here today. We need to sell 400 tickets Twix now, and tomorrow night at midnight when 53 Ford truck will start counting all the tickets up, give all of you ticket numbers, and then we'll do the drawing on Friday morning show. Again, when the program began today, there are 6 prize packs. 2 of them you could get for $10. You get 3 bottles. You get a beast and butt rub, a chicken mamu seasoning, and an Acadiana steak rub. That's my 3 rubs. You get 2 bags or 4 bags of coffee. You get a mug. You get all of that. And since there were no tickets purchased for that, you could get it right now. It's yours for $10. Does that sound like a great promotion that we did this year for you guys? I think that's a great prize or a great sweepstake prize to entice someone to donate to our nonprofit, $10, so we can stay on the air. But so far, no takers. So it's yours. Schaefer, who's always complaining he never wins. Well, Chef, if you want a guarantee, go buy a ticket for the Manly prize pack, and it's yours right now. Go to shop.mikechurch.com, click the gun at the top of the page. That'll take you to the page. If you want a 1 in 2 shot of winning the Dolls from Heaven Mary doll for a little girl, go buy a ticket. And then you and another guy will be duking it out. That's how low the participation was for the contest this year. So we extended it to Friday. We need 400 tickets sold today and tomorrow. I know you guys are up to the task. And it's always at the last minute. Of course, the AR, people want the AR. And you go buy a ticket, 1 for $10 or 6 for $50. Same deal for all the other men, women, girls, boys prize pack. And then the prayer plaque. When we started the show this morning, if you want 1 ticket for $10 for the prayer plaques, the Our Father, the Hail Mary, and the Glory Be, it's yours. If we had the drawing today, $10 gets you $300 worth of beautiful custom-made wooden prayer plaques you can hang on your wall. So I'm asking you, 400 tickets today and tomorrow, great chances to win a great prize, and you'll advance the cause of private media broadcasting. We are the small batch guys. You love small batch bourbon. Why don't you love small batch broadcasting? You love small custom-made hand-knit items. Why don't you love small custom-made hand-produced radio and TV shows? We do it here every day and have for 33 years. Time to give us a little bump up. So I'm asking you, got $10? Go buy a ticket. Shop.mikechurch.com. Got $100? Go buy 12. Shop.mikechurch.com. Got $500? Go buy 60. Shop.mikechurch.com. Do the math for the rest. And thank you in advance. We have so many digital media files left to get to here today. Start with number 1. We're going to talk about RFK Jr. We're going to do it last... Maggie put Jim Acosta farewell live on CNN on the cut she ate. Well, do the flashback where he's talking about the dangerous levels of mercury from 2008. This is when Democrats loved RFK Jr. and thought he was going to help them take down the electrical generating industry, and we could all live in campfires and hang out with Indians.
About 8 years ago, the EPA announced that in 19 states, it is now unsafe to eat any freshwater fish caught in the state because of mercury contamination. The mercury is coming from those coal-burning power plants. In 49 states, at least some of the fish are unsafe to eat. In fact, the only state where all of the fish are safe to eat is Dick Cheney's home state of Wyoming, where the Republican-controlled legislature has refused to appropriate the money to test the fish. We know a lot about mercury now. According to CDC, there's 1 out of every 6 American women now has so much mercury in her womb that her children are at risk for a grim inventory of diseases: autism, blindness, mental retardation, heart, liver, and kidney disease. I have so much mercury in my body just from eating fish, 2.5 times what EPA is considered safe. I was told by Dr. David Carpenter, who's the principal authority on mercury toxicity in this country, that if a woman with my levels of mercury in her blood would have children with cognitive impairment, with permanent brain neurological injury. Today, according to CDC, there's 640,000 children born in this country every year who've been exposed to dangerous levels of mercury in their mother's wombs. The Clinton administration, recognizing the gravity of this national health epidemic, reclassified mercury as a hazardous pollutant under the Clean Air Act. That triggered a requirement that all of those plants remove 90% of the mercury within 3.5 years. It would have cost them less than 1% of plant revenues, and we know that it works. When they stop emitting the mercury, it disappears within 5 years mostly from the fish and waterways downwind of those plants. But this is an industry that donated $156 million to President Bush and his party since the 2000 election cycle, and their reward was leaders like Mr. Homestead here, who came in and eviscerated that rule and instead replaced a rule that was written by utility industry lobbyists, his own law firm, Lathan and Watkins, which allowed, which
You're trying to get him to shut up.
Essentially, the regulation, that tight regulation of mercury, and allows these utilities to continue to discharge mercury at huge rates for endless periods of time.
That was in 2008. How much mercury do you think is in the water now? You know, I remember when I was a little children, I remember my mother saying, we don't eat fish, freshwater fish anymore. I said, why not? And my mom, back when I was like 12 years old, was aware of this. And she said, because it's got mercury in it. I said, no. And of course, me being the nerd that I was, even back then, I had to look it up. There was no internet back then. So I do remember back in the 70s, it was difficult, or people were saying, don't eat freshwater fish. Now, of course, now, how did the fishing industry deal with it, or how did the fishermen deal with this? They stopped fishing in freshwater streams and rivers. You don't get catfish from the Mississippi River anymore. You don't get it from the Atchafalaya Basin. You get it from a catfish farm. Where does the catfish farm get its water from? Well, whatever your utility, or if they're fortunate enough to have access to a well. I understand. I get what he's saying, and I got what he was saying back then. Is this going to come up in his confirmation hearing today? The man has had a genuine concern for the health of Americans. I think that makes him qualified. And the only reason I'm playing is because I'm just wondering, are the same Democrats that summoned him to that hearing, some of them are still there, Durbin, Turbin. For example, are they going to cheer him on? Or are they going to do all they can to destroy the man and destroy his reputation? Folks have no idea what's coming with this. I can't talk about the particulars, because if I do, YouTube will flag this video and strike us again, so I'm not going to get into the particulars. You all know what's at stake here. We can talk about high fructose corn syrup, though. They don't mind that. This stuff is in the food supply. The HHS secretary oversees over $1 trillion. This is a fact, over $1 trillion. Much of this probably needs to be not spent. Instead, you should spend any revenues that you have on re-education and then informing these industries. You can't use red number 3, you can't use blue 40 or whatever it is, or whatever the dyes are. You can't use them anymore. I hope that when RFK Jr. is confirmed, and I believe that he will be, Trump will use a recess appointment if he has to get him in. I hope that after RFK Jr. is confirmed, he will overturn this Biden regime rule, which tried to we're going to ban FD&C red number 3 in 2039. Yeah, you got like 15 years to figure out how to do without it. Folks, this is America. This BS that we need years and years to make these adjustments, it's just that it's BS. This is America. You have freedom of will. You have freedom of movement here. You have access to every resource that is conceivable. If you want to do this, you can do it in 6 months. Probably less than 6 months. So enough of this. You're going to have to retool this. Well, then they're going to have to retool it. Retool it. I'll tool you. Let's talk about federal spending for a moment. Let's continue on the same subject because I think you all are interested in it. Let me read something to you from the debates over the Constitution on September the 17th, 1787. So, you know what? Play the Scott Jennings clip here. Here, let's start with Mary, what the hell is her name? Adironda. Another reason why the 19th Amendment needs to be repealed. Maria Cardona. This woman's head look, it would be an insult to a box of Stanley hammers to call her as dumb as a box of hammers. This is why you need my class, Civics 101. If you're on YouTube, there's a new video went up yesterday. It's all about letters of marque and reprisal. It's from 2014. I was skinnier, had darker hair, and more handsome. As a matter of fact, I think I was 31% more handsome then than I am today. So you're going to like the video. It was given at a libertarian conference, so all of you youngsters out there will really like it. But let's talk about, before you play, go ahead and play her, and then I'll tell you what the Constitution says. Watch this.
Department of Justice does not work for the president.
Yes,
the Department of Justice works for the American people.
No, it works for the executive branch. It's in the Constitution. It exists in the executive branch.
The lawyers of the Justice Department work for the American people.
You're acting like it's an independent branch of government. It's in the executive branch, run by the president.
I mean, but the lawyers of the Justice Department work for the American people, not for the president of the United States, not the person in the office.
So you don't think anyone in the executive branch is bound to the head of the executive branch?
No. Here's the difference. Here's the difference.
No, woman. No, look, your emotions are getting the best of you. You want your little buddies there that made the Trump family's life miserable. You want them to stay there so that when Biden or whoever gets back in 4 years, they can go back to doing what they were doing. They're fired, lady. He's going to shut most of that department down. Pam Bondi's going to go in and go, you're done. Get out. Article 2, Section 2 of the Constitution, for those of you that don't know. He shall have power. Wait a minute. The president shall be commander-in-chief of the Army and Navy of the United States and of the militia of the several states when called into the actual service of the United States. Very important to remember that clause, kiddies. Your National Guard is only under the CIC if they are called, which is why he has to issue executive orders like he did for California. Once he does, declares an emergency, says that he's going into service, the militia or the National Guard, as it were, then they are under his command. Otherwise, they are under the command of your governor. Everyone needs to understand this. Constitution Civics 101, I'm giving it to you straight up. No BS. It's exactly what you need to know. Let's go back to the Constitution. He may require the opinion in writing of the principal officer in each of the executive departments upon any subject relating to the duties of their respective offices, and he shall have the power to grant reprieves and pardons for offenses against the United States, except in cases of impeachment. Again, he can demand that the head of the Justice Department answer his questions. Why? Because he answers to him. It says executive departments. The Injustice Department was created by President Washington by executive order. Look it up. He shall have power by and with the advice and consent of the Senate to make treaties, provided 2/3 that the senators present concur, and he shall nominate and by and with the advice and consent of the Senate shall appoint ambassadors, other public ministers and consuls, judges of the Supreme Court, and all other officers of the United States whose appointments are not herein otherwise provided for, and which shall be established by law. But the Congress may, by law, vest the appointment of such inferior officers as they think proper in the president alone, in the courts of law, or in the heads of departments. He is, now I'm going to take you to 1787, day the Constitution is signed and sent to the states for ratification. A great founding father, his name was Pierce Butler. This is what he said on this subject here. He can put a negative upon any bill, though it may previously have. You can grab this from my screen if you want. I think I can enlarge that out. There we go. So I'm reading right here. Those of you can see this at home. If you're watching on radio, I'm reading from the Online Library of Liberty, which is one of the DuPont family did a good thing when they donated all this money to the OLL. It's one of the greatest unknown resources out there, Americans. Use it, oll.libertyfund.org. Fantastic website. You're looking for American history, you'll find it there. Again, another tip from the King Dude. No other host is going to give you. Oh, but you made him 3 million views, and we have 300. Okay, fine, thank you. He is the head. Wait a minute. Where am I? We're here. Okay, he's talking about the king of Great Britain being the head of the church. Then he gets down to, he's going to talk about Washington. A weak man or a madman may as his heir ascend to it. He is not responsible. The king can do no wrong. His person is sacred, even though the measure pursued in his reign be arbitrary, for no earthly jurisdiction has power to try him in a criminal way. But the President of the United States is the supreme executive officer. Supreme executive officer. Pierce Butler, founding father, patriot. Day the Constitution is signed by him. He is the supreme executive officer. I could stop right there. He is the supreme executive officer. He has no separate legislative power or whatever. He can't prevent a bill from passing into a law. In making treaties, 2/3 of the Senate must concur. In the appointment of ambassadors, judges of the Supreme Court, etc., he must have the concurrence of the Senate. He is responsible to his constituents for the use of his power. He is impeachable. His election, the mode of which I had the honor of proposing in the committee, in my weak judgment, precludes corruption and tumult. Yet, after all, my dear sirs, I am free to acknowledge that his powers are full great, and greater than I was disposed to make them. Nor, entre nous, do I believe they would have been so great had not many of the members cast their eyes towards General Washington as president, and shaped their ideas of the powers to be given to a president by their opinions of his virtue, so that the man who by his patriotism and virtue contributed largely to the emancipation of his country may be the most innocent means of its being when he is laid low, oppressed. What he's saying is they are all looking at Washington, not realizing that he's going to die. He's going to die. And when he does, somebody's going to replace him. We're going to elect that guy. He's not going to be in Washington. So in any event, anyone that says that Trump can't fire everyone in the entire Justice Department, they just don't know what they're talking about. Now, he can't whack a Supreme Court justice. That's tradition. They can be impeached. Nobody knows that. A Scottish judge can be impeached. If he says he's not going to honor whatever expenditure was set into law by the Biden regime, he doesn't have to honor it. They can't make him. So here, play Schumer. They're all out there throwing hissy fits over this. He can't do this. He has to spend his money. No, he doesn't. No, he does not. By the way, Obama withheld all manner of funds for things that had been appropriated by the Republicans in the 2002-2004 Congresses, including legal defense money that was supposed to be spent in the states on the DOMA. What's the DOMA, Mike? Defense of Marriage Act. Marriage. Instead, the leftards were out there striking at it like rattlesnakes on a poor farmer's leg until they got Obergefell. Injudiciously by the SCOTUS. By the way, that one's going to get overturned too. Here's Schumer. Watch.
Look, last night, President Trump plunged the country into chaos without a shred of warning. The Trump administration announced a halt to virtually all federal funds across the country. In an instant, Donald Trump has shut off billions, perhaps trillions of dollars that directly support states, cities, towns, schools, hospitals, small businesses, and most of all, American families. This is a dagger at the heart of the average American family in red states, in blue states, in cities, in suburbs, in rural areas.
Good.
It is just outrageous.
You're going to have to pay your own way.
Funds for things like disaster assistance, local law enforcement, rural hospitals, aid to the elderly, food for people in need.
You're going to have to provide that yourself, Chucky.
All are on the chopping block.
You left out condoms
in this
for
new
Ugandans.
Administration. Why? They need tax cuts for the ultra-wealthy. And these cuts, they think, will fund them.
I'm an ultra-wealthy now.
Deluge with calls from people.
All right, enough. You get the idea. I don't have time to listen to this blowhard. Translation, cities, counties, and states are now going to have to pay their own government. Ladies and gentlemen, you've heard me. Those of you that have been listening to this show for a long time, you know this. You know this. The dirty secret has been out. The state legislatures are not holy. They are not filled with virtuous men that are just so pure of heart. And they would balance the budgets in their state. They don't balance them, and they do it intentionally because they know that Mordor on the Potomac River is going to bail them out. Well, they're going to get a bailout, aren't they? Yeah, they're going to get a bailout, and they've been getting bailouts. What President Trump is saying is you're not getting a bailout anymore. If you have this agency is not subsidizing you in the state. You know, most people don't know. There's several states that have actually fought this. Tennessee has fought it. Texas has fought it. They have fights over Medicaid funding. You hear Sarah Huckabee Sanders saying, these people cost me $2 billion a year. They cost the good people of Arkansas that do work and have their own health insurance $2 billion a year. Enough. It's over. We're not doing it anymore. This is happening. When Schumer says it's chaos, yeah, it's chaos. Because spoiled, rotten legislators, and governors have been bailed out by Washington, borrowing tens of trillions of dollars, and then saying that they have to because this agency has to have it, that poor old lady over there has to have it, and it all gets funneled down through block grants to the states. Trump is trying to bring this to an end. Folks, again, let me shoot straight with you. This is what conservatives should have been trying to conserve since Barry frickin' Goldwater. Hell, since Dwight David Eisenhower. But instead, we were led by pansies and faggots. They're still there, by the way. They're all still out there whining into their weak tea, joining Schumer and Tim Walz and all the rest of them. Where do you hear Maltizia James? Look, they may put that money. That's my money. Upgrade gonna get his money, and I'm gonna get my money in New York, Trump. I'm coming to the Treasury. I'm gonna get my check. You gonna pay me here in New York. It's an epic fight with someone that's up to the challenge. Pray that they are successful. This is what we have wanted. I don't even know why I have to discuss this and try and convince people that this is a good thing. Because at the end of the day, this is what TradCons, traditional conservatives, have been saying, well, since I heard the first one back in 1988. And it's actually coming to fruition. Is there going to be chaos? Yeah. People are going to have to find another way to live. Let them. All aboard! It's coming aboard. The freight train of truth is leaving MAGA Station. The Mike Church Show is on the Crusade Radio Network. Just watching the C-SPAN monitor here over here on channel number 2. The Senate chamber is filing in. It's going to be the site of the RFK Jr. confirmation hearing, which we will bring you live here on the Crusade Radio Network. This portion of the program, again, brought to you by ourselves and the Have Yourself a Manly and Merry New Year sweepstakes contest. The grand prize is a custom-made, autographed by yours truly, AR-15 rifle made by our friend Corey Cash at Daedalus Tactical. That's over a $1,500 value. You get a ticket, only one ticket to win, one ticket for $10, 6 tickets for $50. We have to sell 400 in the next 2 days just to make what we made last year here to keep the lights on and the internet going and all that stuff. So be as generous as you can. 2 of the prize packs this morning had 0 tickets. So Schaefer said he bought one. So Schaefer, you're probably going to win that if you're the only one that has a ticket. That is the manly kit with the coffee and the spices and one of these bad boys. This is a $45 custom-made Captain Chin Holy Roast mug. That's ours. You can get it as part of that pack. The ladies' pack has great stuff in it, too. But the wooden prayer plaques, no ticket. Someone is going to win that because you're going to go and spend $10. So just benefits our nonprofit, Crusade Radio Guild. Go to shop.mikechurch.com. That's shop.mikechurch.com. Caroline Leavitt yesterday. This is refreshing. The youngest person to ever be White House press secretary. A position, by the way, that doesn't have to exist. The president doesn't have to have one. I think that the second youngest, or who previously held the record, and I don't know this for certain, but I would go out on a limb and I would say probably that it was Dana Perino. When Dana Perino was... She's the youngest. Caroline Leavitt is the youngest, but prior to Caroline Leavitt, I think Dana Perino was probably held the record. Either her or Dee Dee Myers, who was Clinton's secretary. She was also very young. So in any event, watching her play the egg question. We'll start with this one. This is no, just start at the top. Do number 10, number 9. Start no number. Where do I want to start? And start at the top, number 6. I didn't realize we had 13 Caroline Leavitt clips. You heard Janet Huxley, our news anchor, award-winning news anchor, said, I watched the whole thing. I watched it, too. We broadcast it here on the Crusade Radio Network. When news breaks out, we break in, which is why you subscribe to the YouTube channel and tap the bell down there, even if you are a subscriber, to get notifications when we go live so you can join us. Here, start at the top. Digital media file number 6.
This White House believes strongly in the First Amendment, so it's why our team will work diligently to restore the press passes of the 440 journalists whose passes were wrongly revoked by the previous administration. We're also opening up this briefing room to new media voices who produce news-related content and whose outlet is not already represented by one of the seats in this room. We welcome independent journalists, podcasters, social media influencers, and content creators to apply for credentials to cover this White House.
I did!
And you can apply now on our new website.
I did. I applied.
whitehouse.gov/new media. Starting today, this seat in the front of the room which is usually occupied by the press secretary's staff, will be called the new media seat. My team will review the applications and give credentials to new media applicants who meet our criteria and pass United States Secret Service requirements to enter the White House complex. So in light of these announcements, our first questions for today's briefing will go to these new media members, whose outlets, despite being some of the most viewed news websites in the country, have not been given seats in this room.
Interesting. New media, podcasters, social media influencers, who are usually stooges, by the way, and people that create news-related content. I've been creating news-related content for 33 years. I applied. As soon as she said it, I was sitting right there and I was monitoring the whole thing. I typed right on over there and went right there and I applied. So we'll see. Do the next one here. Now, people are shocked. They're going there, wait a minute. She answered the question. She came out. They didn't even have to ask her. She says, well, I'm going to tell you all about the drones. Remember Trump saying, I don't know. I don't know. Susie, what do we know about the drones? Can we tell the people about the drones? Remember in the White House, day number 2, he asked Susie Wiles, what do we know about the drones? Can we tell the people? Here you go. Caroline Leavitt is going to tell the people about the drones.
And before I turn to questions, I do have news directly from the President of the United States that was just shared with me in the Oval Office. From President Trump directly, an update on the New Jersey drones. After research and study, the drones that were flying over New Jersey in large numbers were authorized to be flown by the FAA for research and various other reasons. Many of these drones were also hobbyists, recreational, and private individuals that enjoy flying drones. In time, it got worse due to curiosity. This was not the enemy. A statement from the President of the United States to start this briefing with some news.
And other purposes. Various other purposes. I still think that they are looking for a nuke or nuclear fissile material. That's good enough. You pretty much said, you could say, well, I can't tell you everything because there's national security. Okay, whatever. Let's lightning round here. I love this one. You are all going to want to commit this one to memory. Number 8. Is this White House? Why are you so mean? You're so mean. Why are you being so mean to our lovely, beautiful refugee people? They just want a home and a hug. You're not getting a home and a hug here, sweetheart.
Caroline, immigration. Of the 3,500 arrests ICE has made so far since President Trump came back into office, can you just tell us the numbers? How many have a criminal record versus those who are just in the country illegally?
All of them, because they illegally broke our nation's laws and therefore they are criminals as far as this administration goes. I know the last administration didn't see it that way, so it's a big culture shift in our nation to view someone who breaks our immigration laws as a criminal, but that's exactly what they are.
Yeah! Hold. She was sitting there doing the Mel Gibson from Braveheart. Hold. Hold. There's refugees in tree. Go. No, they're all criminals. Again, Mike Church Show way ahead of the curve, as always. What have I been calling them for 4 years? Illegal, alien, criminal, trespassers. Thank you, President Trump, for validating the Mike Church Show yet again. And also for validating my vote and my support for you and your campaign, which cost me friends, subscribers, family members. Lots of people left the crusade. I wonder what they're thinking now. Many others have just kind of gone silent and quiet. As I tell Maggie every morning, I'm like, why do we... There are a lot of Trump haters out there. I don't think you should be a Trump hater, though. I think you should, if you want to reserve your judgment, I'll believe it when I see it. We'll judge him at the end of the 4 years. Meanwhile, I think that you should be at least cordial You don't have to go, yeah, MAGA. You don't have to put a Trump sticker on your car, but you could be cordial and go like, okay, I'm going to admit that this is not what I said it was going to be. That's all. Just admit it. Just admit it. This is Trump Wall or Stone Trump Jackson. Speaking of Jackson, didn't the Reverend Jackson, wasn't the Reverend Jackson heard squawking about welfare benefits being delayed? I want to stick with Caroline Levitt. We don't need to hear from the Reverend Jackson. How about we'll do all criminal? All right, this is the granddaddy of them all to me, and they're all good. What to do about the price of eggs, and how come it's not Trump's fault? They went up last week. This is all his doing. She was ready for Eggmageddon and the Eggmageddon question here. You never thought that you'd be cheering on someone to talk about eggs at a White House press briefing. Yeah, you'll be cheering her on to talk about eggs.
Christian Day Talk.
Thanks, Caroline. Just real quick, you mentioned the inflation executive order the president signed, but egg prices have skyrocketed since President Trump took office. So what skyrocketed to lower those costs for Americans?
Really glad you brought this up, because there is a lot of reporting out there that is putting the onus on this White House for the increased cost of eggs. I would like to point out to each and every one of you that in 2024, when Joe Biden was in the Oval Office, or upstairs in the residence sleeping, I'm not so sure, egg prices increased 65% in this country. We also have seen the cost of everything, not just eggs. Bacon, groceries, gasoline have increased because of the inflationary policies of the last administration. As far as the egg shortage, what's also contributing to that is that the Biden administration and the Department of Agriculture directed the mass killing of more than 100 million chickens, which has led to a lack of chicken supply in this country, therefore a lack of egg supply, which is leading to the shortage.
Who speaks for the chickens?
Set my chickens free.
Let my chickens live! Let's the chickens, we want all the chickens. Look at the beautiful chickens. We want them all to live. Let them live and make eggs. And McNuggets. You have a federal hiring freeze. Under whose authority do you order these people about with a federal hiring freeze? Number 10. You can't do this to these people. This is a great free people as a state of Illinois and the state of New York. Says the rich to the federal subsidy. And she goes, yeah, we cut them off.
With the president's agenda, then the Office of Management and Budget will review those policies. I think this is a very responsible measure. Again, the past 4 years, we've seen the Biden administration spend money like drunken sailors. It's a big reason we've had an inflation crisis.
It's an insult to drunken sailors.
And it's incumbent upon this administration to make sure, again, that every penny is being accounted for honestly.
Why impose this pause with so little notice? Why not give organizations more time to plan for the fact that they are about to lose, in some cases, really crucial federal funding, at least for a period of time?
There was notice. It was the executive order that the president signed. There's also a freeze on hiring, as you know, a regulatory freeze, and there's also a freeze on foreign aid. And this is, again, incredibly important to ensure that this administration is taking into consideration how hard the American people are working. And their tax dollars actually matter to this administration. You know, just during this pause, DOGE and OMB have actually found that there was $37 million that was about to go out the door to the World Health Organization, which is an organization, as you all know, that President Trump, with the swipe of his pen in that executive order, is no longer wants the United States to be a part of. So that wouldn't be in line with the president's agenda. DOGE and OMB also found that there was about to be 50 million taxpayer dollars that went out the door to fund condoms in Gaza. That is a preposterous waste of taxpayer money. So that's what this pause is focused on, being good stewards of tax dollars.
By the way, I want you to play Mautizia James for an interlude here. Upgrade gonna get his money. You gonna pay, state of New York, you gonna pay President Trump. You ain't cutting us off. That's our money. And Upgrade gonna get his money. How many billions of dollars did regime leader Biden not spend that was appropriated by Congress for the border wall? Not only did he not spend it, he tried to sell the pieces off to private contractors for 1 cent on the dollar. I don't want to hear, what about Obama? How many dollars did Obama not spend on the wall and on border protection that were appropriated by the Boehner Congress? How many dollars did Obama not spend on certain things that were appropriated by the Republicans when they were in charge of the Congress under Speaker Boehner? I don't have the list in front of me, but I know it's in the tens, if not hundreds of billions of dollars. The supreme executive is the president. If he doesn't want to spend the money, then he's not going to spend the money, and he doesn't have to. No, now I welcome this fight. That judge yesterday that said that Trump can't do that cannot make the executive branch do their bidding. Remember, Biden told the 7 justices on the Supreme Court to go F themselves when he was told he could not forgive student loans. The executive is the executive, and I don't think this one, at the end of the day, is going to listen to a little penny ante inferior to the Supreme Court federal judge tell him that the American people had elected him to do a job that he can't do it because they don't like it. Too bad, tough titty. So here, you want an example of whining and crying and you're going to give us our money? This is my money. This one, I know you're not getting.
Not only does this administration's new policy put people at risk, but it is plainly unconstitutional. The president does not get to decide which laws to enforce.
Yes, he does.
When Congress dedicates funding for a program, the president cannot pull that funding on a whim.
Yes, he can.
Later today, I am leading and joining with my colleagues, my fellow Democratic attorney generals, in suing this administration to stop this illegal freeze of essential funds for our state. We will not stand for any illegal policy that puts essential services for millions of Americans at risk. And we work tirelessly overnight to ensure that that does not happen. Our lawsuit will seek a court order to immediately stop the enforcement of the OMB policy and to preserve essential funding for Americans.
She can't even pronounce the word.
Seems like everybody's got a price.
Sing it.
I wonder how they sleep at night when the sale comes first and the truth comes second. Just stop
for a minute and smile.
Why is everybody so serious? Acting so damn mysterious. Got shades on your eyes and your heels so high that you can't even have a
heels up, Harris.
Everybody look to their left. Everybody look to their right. Can you feel that? Yeah, we're paying with love tonight. It's not about the money, money, money. We don't need your money, money, money. We just want to make the world dance. Forget about the price tag. Ain't about the cha-ching. Ain't about the bling. Wanna make the world dance.
Ah, stop it. This is an unconstitutional, and it will not stand. Period. And we will not be bullied by this president over this appropriate the money he owes us. He gonna pay. I want you to show me, one of you lefties out there, we have a lot of Trump-hating leftards. I dare you. I triple dude dare you. Call me right now. 844-527-8723. Tell me what article, what clause, and what subsection number says the Supreme Chief Executive of the United States has to spend what Congress, every dime that Congress appropriates. Show it to me. You can't even show me the tradition that that's true. You know what Andrew Jackson did? Would you like me to tell you what President Jackson did? Why they hated him so much? Because they would do this, and Jackson would go, oh, Hickory would go like, nah, I'm not spending that. We're going to pay the debt off, and we're going to have a surplus. And no, I'll tell you, I'm not with it. I will not honor that appropriation by Congress. He just said it there. The Congress can only appropriate. It cannot execute. You people need to understand this. So when some smarmy, angry left targets him, no, he doesn't. They are the legislature. He is the executive. The Founding Fathers vested, now you could say this is an imperfect system, and I'll agree with you, but the Founding Fathers vested in the United States, in the presidency, an extraordinary amount of power. One of those powers includes executing. It says his oath of office says that he will faithfully execute the laws. But faithfully is left up to him. Now, you want to hear another? Oh, you got to play Tim Kaine. Oh, folks, you ain't heard nothing. So I just want to establish this is completely constitutional. He doesn't have to spend any money. As a matter of fact, he doesn't have to actually execute laws. He can say, that power was granted to me to execute that law, and I'll get to it in my own damn good time, which may be never. Play number 17. Yeah, well, they just asked Caroline Levitt about it on Fox, on Fox and Friends. What about the history fest being thrown into Congress over this?
And they received an email that said, from the administration.
Yes.
If you tender your resignation by next Friday, we will guarantee you payment through the end of September, whether or not you show up for work. So tender your resignation, and then, boy, it's just going to be a gravy train. You're just going to get paid for 7 months without working. The president has no authority to make that offer.
Yes, he does.
There's no budget line item to pay people who are not showing up for work.
Is he complaining about it?
This is a guy who made this promise to contractors again and again and again when he was a private business guy. Oh, come work for me on my casino. Come work for me on a hotel. We're going to do a handshake. We're going to do a contract. The contractor does the work and then finds out they get stiffed. So my message to federal employees who receive this is, yeah, the president has tried to terrorize you for about a week and then gives you a little sweetheart offer.
Federal employees.
If you resign in the next week, we're just going to pay you for doing nothing for the next 7 months. Don't be fooled. He's tricked hundreds of people with that offer. If you accept that offer and resign, he'll stiff you just like he stiffed the contractors. He doesn't have any authority to do this.
I want to know what contractor did CEO Trump? Where's the document? I know that there was a bankruptcy, but that's all I know.
Hello, Crusader.
I can't wait either. How you doing? This show features a healthy dose of conservative Ozempic to help you lose the crushing weight of white and MAGA guilt. Embrace your productive thinking and constructive skills and become members of these self-governing people of these United States on a job's way of life. Folks, you're going to give me 8 weeks. Got to take daily doses of the Founding Fathers Red Pill sprinkled with a few drops of holy water so you can unplug the matrix cable from the back of your head, claim your philosophia, patentes, and critical thinking skills, and become members of that aforementioned self-governing people of these United States. Folks, the tickets for the AR-15, the prayer plaques, and the other great prizes, the 400 tickets we need to sell are easy to find. Shop, S-H-O-P, period, Mike Church, period, com. That page will come up pretty quickly now. There's a gun, a picture of a gun and a snowbank at the top of the page. Click it. That will take you to the page. If it doesn't take you to the page, your computer has been taken over by the Chi-Coms. Unplug it from the wall, take it out into your driveway, find a mall, and destroy it. Make sure you take the drive out, too, because the drive has Chi-Com crap on it now. So, again, if you go to shop.mikechurch.com and there's not a gun at the top of that page, or that page doesn't open, or if it shows you something else, your computer has been stolen, it has been taken over by aliens or the Chi-Coms, unplug it from the wall, pick the whole thing up, keyboard included, bring it into your driveway or somewhere where there's concrete, find a mall, and destroy it. Pulverize it into little tiny computer pieces. Then go buy a new one. Put the appropriate malware prevention software on it, and shop.mikechurch.com will load appropriately, fastly, quickly, and easily. So, problem solved. And we're on our way to selling 400 tickets. Just moments ago, by the way, I want to know where Tim Kaine is getting this from. He slandered Pete Hegseth. Hegseth should sue him. He slandered Pete Hegseth. He's going to slander RFK Jr. This guy just running around lying about people. The President of the United States doesn't want this kind of a war. He doesn't want this kind of a fight. I would send a letter. I would say, you know what, if you go on international television and on the floor of a legislative body and have it entered into the record that I defrauded and beat contractors out of money, if you do it again, I'm going to own your home in Virginia. And every asset you own, I'm going to take it all from you. Every single little thing you've stolen. These people, these carcasses, these fossils that are in the U.S. Senate need to go. Here is, the aforementioned Caroline Leavitt. Here she is right here. She's asked the question, what do you say to people about the letter that was sent to them saying that they can resign and get full pay until September? This is illegal and unconstitutional. They're saying, you can't do it. How can President Trump do it? Whose authority is he acting? Where does it say? And I didn't even hear the question, but here's Caroline Leavitt's response just moments ago.
Won't get paid through September 30th. How do you respond?
Well, first of all, he questioned President Trump's legal authority to do this, and the president has the legal authority to tell federal workers that within the confines of the law and their contracts, they have to show up to work. Only 6% of the federal workforce in Washington, D.C. actually shows up to the office. That's egregious. American workers, the middle class, who keep this government up and running with their hard-earned tax dollars have to show up to the office every day, and President Trump expects bureaucrats to do the same. And if they don't like it, well, guess what? They are getting a very generous payout from this administration. They'll be paid for the next 8 months. I think Doge just put out a tweet. It's great that says that they can have their long-awaited vacation if they wish for the next 8 months. But we are going to ensure that the federal office buildings in this city are filled with productive and excited workers. Yes, they will.
Last question. Does Kennedy have the votes to be confirmed? Yes or no?
We believe so, and we sure hope that he does, because he is an exceptional and brilliant individual, highly respected. He's going to help President Trump make America healthy again, which is a priority for tens of millions of Americans at home.
Okay, the hearing starts in 30 minutes, and we're waiting for it.
By the way, I'm reading the tweet right now from Elon Musk. Worth noting that the 8-month severance offered through the end of the government fiscal year is the most that is legally allowed without Congress passing another appropriations bill. It's very generous. Elon, it is really a fair and generous deal. I would take the deal. This is the president basically saying, you're fired, but I'm going to let you go ahead and cheat and be a parasite for 8 months until you can find something else to do. And like she said, we want these federal office buildings to be filled with excited federal workers. Well, that means no one's going to be there, because who gets excited about bureaucracy? You know, unless you're a kleptomaniac or a masochist who enjoys watching other people suffer, who gets excited about that? I think this is just a purge. And I also believe that they are hoping that the SEIU and one of these other trade unions, a federal employee union worker or federal worker employee union, does take them to court so they can go into court and argue that, no, you do not have the right to work for the federal government, and no, you do not have the right to collectively bargain and demand of that same government this benefit, this retirement, this guarantee, and that guarantee. You are an at-will employee like every other American is. You know, I just had to read up on this for something that I'm working on about at-will employees. This is the way everything. Look, my old friend, I don't even know if he listens to the show anymore, but David Kernall, the car sales guy, the former owner of Bulldog Kia, the Kernall plan works. Everyone's at will. Almost everyone's on commission. You don't produce, you don't show up, you don't get paid, I fire you. All right, in the contract. Pretty simple. That's the way it should work. You know, this human resource department BS needs to come to an end. This idea that these DEI losers, and they are complete and total wastes of God's generous gifts, sitting there supposedly, allegedly organizing the affairs of men in our business. You're weird. You're going to have to see HR about it. Hey, did you find the Office Space clip? All right. Well, we can play it whenever, because it is great. Before we go to Madeline, here is her favorite, Stephen Miller, smacking Jake Tapper out of his chair. This is like Trump has brought in Major League Baseball players to a single-A minor league baseball park. And the people that they encounter aren't even good enough. They have to try out to make the single-A farm league team. So Stephen Miller is like, oh, what's the kid that played for LSU? The Bregman, like Alex Bregman. Okay, Stephen Miller is Alex Bregman going to bat against Maggie's 13-year-old nephew who throws a 60-mile-an-hour fastball. So Bregman's going to hit a grand slam he's going to hit it out of the park. That's how mismatched. These are people that are accomplished, who have done things with their lives, have chosen an era, a phase of service or a government service. For the most part, that's what they are. And Miller's the best example of it. Just watch this. This is an absolute career. It should be a career-ending destruction of fake Tapper.
A question because one of the reasons that President Trump got elected, according to President Trump in an interview, I think it was with Kristen Welker of NBC, was because of grocery prices. Not the only reason, but a reason, high prices, inflation, especially at the grocery. The Department of Agriculture says that between 2020 and 2022, 42% of crop workers were undocumented immigrants. And in many cases, as you know, these migrants do jobs many Americans do not want to do. So
we're going to put an end to that, too.
How does President Trump make sure that the effort to deport people who are not in this country legally doesn't end up hurting Americans who want safe borders, absolutely, but also don't want to see even more higher prices in groceries?
Well, I mean, I'm sure it's not your position, Jake, you're just asking the question, that we should supply America's food with exploitative illegal alien labor. I obviously don't think that's what you're implying. Only 1% of alien workers in the entire country work in agriculture. The top destination for illegal aliens are large cities like New York, like Los Angeles, and small industrial towns, of course, all across the heartland, as we've seen with the Biden flights. Mm-hmm. None of those illegal aliens are doing farm work. Those 30,000 illegal aliens that Joe Biden dumped into Springfield.
I'm talking about the ones that are.
But I'm explaining this. It's important to understand.
No, you're kind of changing the subject. I mean,
no, he's not. Shut up.
I will give me 30 minutes. I'll go as deep as you want on this. I'm explaining to you and your audience.
I don't have I'm talking about the ones that work in the agriculture industry.
I'm
you can come back and we can talk about the ones in the cities. I swear.
I'll do the whole answer. The illegal aliens that Joe Biden brought into our country are not full stop doing farm work. They are not. The illegal aliens he brought in from Venezuela, from Haiti, from Nicaragua, they are not doing farm work. They are in our cities collecting welfare. As for the farmers, there is a guest worker program that President Trump supports. Over time as well, we will transition into automation, so we'll never have to have this conversation ever again. But there's no universe in which this nation is going to allow the previous president to flood our nation with millions and millions of illegal aliens who just get to stay here. And we are especially not going to allow a subset of those illegal aliens to rape and murder our citizens. So we are going to unapologetically enforce our immigration laws, and as I'm sure you will celebrate, we are going to unleash the power and might of the U.S. government to eradicate the presence of transnational threats on our soil.
And then Magdalene, listen to Tom Homan, and then we'll talk. Tom Homan absolutely does the same. Number 13. You don't even have to play the whole thing. Well, why do you have to put them on military aircraft? They're shocking on, big and mean and scary. And Homan said, oh, because President Trump told me to.
But there's been reports of them on planes with no water,
that was a bunch of
complaining.
Crap. That was a bunch of crap.
What do you mean a bunch of crap?
ICE detention facilities have the highest detention standards in the industry. Any of the ICE standards, our detention standards are higher than any state or federal or local facility in the nation, in the world. Someone should go to the ICE website, look at PBNDS 11, performance-based detention standards, and look at our detention standards, highest in the industry.
But are you sure you're only getting illegal criminal migrants? I mean, there were some pictures over the weekend of people that claim to be students, Brazilian students, who were showing examples of bruises on their arms from American deportation flights.
If they want to make a complaint, it'll be investigated.
But your assurance is what?
The men and women of ICE are professionals. We do this for a living. And I can tell you, I ran ICE for years. I was the first director of ICE came up through the ranks. Again, these men and women are professional, highest detention standards in the industry. We take care of these people. But we're going to enforce the law, and we're not going to apologize for doing it.
And you're going to do it in a sort of public way with, do you need to use the big military planes? Is that part of a sort of shock and awe tactic? No. They haven't been used before, have they, for migrants?
No, we got President Trump. We're going to use all the government to secure our border, which is the biggest national security vulnerability this country's ever seen. And we're going to enforce laws to this country. It's not okay to enter this country illegally. It's a crime. And when you cause a crisis as big as the Biden administration caused, when you overwhelm the Border Patrol, but they can't do their national security job, that's when the fentanyl come across and kill 250,000 Americans.
Okay, thank you, Tom. Hey, honey, go back to Britain. You got problems there. Don't worry about ours. And don't worry about, the little Venezuelan got a bruise on his arm. Maybe he got in a fist fight in the freaking, in the cargo hold. She had to use big, mean, scary military planes. They've never been used before. Well, then, okay, well, those people were idiots. Why didn't they use them? Just keep doing it. These people in this media, folks, do not, again, this is 14-year-old all-star traveling baseball kids pitching to Alex Bregman. It's not even fair. Magdalene Rose, our political affairs, Mike Church Show political affairs contributor, Caroline Levitt showed yesterday, again, those minor leaguers in the White House briefing room, you know which ones I'm talking about, met a major league, like I said, this is a 14-year-old pitcher going up against an all-star home run hitter like Alex Bregman of the Houston Astros. It's not even a fair fight. President Trump is bringing the freaking talent and the wood.
He definitely is, and I think one of the things that's clear from the attack on Tom Homan is that the media is really unaccustomed to Americans not caring about what they care about. For so long, the media dictated what Americans cared about, and Americans just don't care that there are sad Brazilians being shipped back. Like, they just don't care. It's not something you can elicit sympathy for. And I think what's interesting is that when you see interviews with these people when they get off planes, like in Colombia, they're saying, oh, don't come here. It's too dangerous. They're saying it's not worth it. They're sending everyone back. So they're the best testimony we can have. When I see a Colombian woman who's been deported for being here illegally and likely for committing other crimes because that's what they're starting with, and she says, don't come, it's a bad thing, they're sending everyone back, that's what Americans voted for. They're tired, and I think the murder of Laken Riley really was the game changer.
It's not just Laken Riley. It's Jocelyn Nungary, Rachel Marin. We forgot all about this story. The husband, wife, and child, the daughter, who were murdered on Long Island. Nobody talked about that when the NYPD. This is before Eric Adams cracked. The NYPD knew that this was an illegal alien criminal trespasser who was probably cooking meth in the house next door. The legal aliens that were in the other house knew what they were doing, and they were probably also bringing dozens and dozens of illegals in there and putting them up. And they had ratted them out to the NYPD, who told them, look, there's nothing we can do about it. But the gringos found out about it, went in that house, murdered that man, murdered that woman, murdered that little girl, and burned the house to the ground so they'd leave no evidence behind. But the NYPD absolutely, so did the neighbors. They knew who did that. So it's not just Laken Riley, but you're right. The Laken Riley Act is a game changer.
It is, and I think that when you see someone like Selena Gomez, for example, crying about all of this, nobody cared. Like, yes, we mocked her, we covered it because it's interesting, because people were tweeting about it. But at the end of the day, there's no sympathy for these people anymore. It's too many dead American girls of all races. And I think that's what was so good about this Trump campaign was he said young Hispanic girls have been killed who are here by people who are here illegally. Young black girls, young white girls. There's not been this, we only care about one race. It's, are you here because, are you a legal American? Are you a citizen here? Were you born here? Have your parents paid in to help this country? If the answer is yes, we are upset about the fact that you were killed by an illegal alien who was allowed in here by the Biden administration.
That's right.
So the frustration that the media has, it's not going to go away. I think they'll get even more vulgar. They'll attack Haman even more. It was brilliant to not have Haman in a confirmation position, because had he done that, there would have been a circus around it. Hey, if Biden gets to have a border czar, so do we.
Well, the fact, again, the guy that wrote The Art of the Deal, this is an intentional strategy, which is send your key guys out once they're confirmed, or if you don't need them to be confirmed, like Holman didn't have to be confirmed, send your key guys out, put them on the ground, get them with their troops on the ground, let them be seen while the deportations, in this case, are actually taking place, right? Let them be seen, and then they go back to New York City or Washington, and they go and they do a couple of interviews. They do a day. They go to you see he was walking out of NBC, the NBC studios at 30 Rock is where Holman was leaving. So you send your guy out there. You're confident that he can handle the media pressure. He's not going to crack here. And what remains of the Malachian satanic media? The MSM, what are they to do with sound bites from a Caroline Leavitt, a Stephen Miller, or a Tom Homan? I mean, you just start cutting them up. The American public is going like, I think you're right, Magdalene. We don't care. We want them gone. He said he would get rid of them. We freaking elected him. Now let him do the job that we elected him to do.
And I remember back over a year ago, there's a YouTube couple, there's a young white couple in Arizona who are probably like fiscal conservatives but socially liberal. And they were talking about how they had to move out of their neighborhood because they didn't say it because they didn't want to be canceled by their sponsors, but they had to move out because there were massive amounts of illegal immigrants. And you sort of see the slow right-wing push towards that people deal with when it's suddenly in their communities. So I think for a long time, Democrats had the white young woman vote cornered. But what ended up happening was, first of all, illegal aliens target young girls in this country to do horrible things to. And second of all, when those young women become moms or wives and they are more integrated into their community, their home more, whatever it is, and they can't go outside with their son or their daughter because there are illegals pulling around doing dangerous things because you have a neighborhood that's being taken over by crime, those young girls end up voting for the law and order candidate. which is Donald Trump. If Trump does what he says he's going to do, which is what he is doing, I think that he's setting the stage for the kind of next election like where Reagan hands it pretty much to the first Bush, because people want safety. I'm sorry, Democrats, that you don't get to fill the country with illegals, but you had 4 years to convince Americans it was a good thing, and you failed at that.
Well, actually, Magdalene, they've had like 100 years to convince us that it's a good thing. They have failed. You know, the other day when Trump said we're going to repeal the New Deal, he said he was talking to this gathering of congressmen, and he was basically telling them, guys, just trust me on this. I won the election, okay? I know what I'm doing. Go in there and do what I'm telling you to do, and you will have an irrevocable majority, and you won't get voted out. So I think I'm surprised, actually, that the Zion King is paying attention. Okay, we only got 2 minutes left. I want to ask quickly, what is the inside scoop, if there is any, on the nomination of RFK Jr.? Because if Robert Francis Kennedy Jr. Gets through, and I think that he will, but if he gets through, then this is the largest federal agency that you can be the director of, because there's the little agencies under that. If RFK Jr. gets through, then this is a major, major piece of the Trump agenda we haven't even seen action on yet. What are you hearing?
That Rand Paul's endorsement of him is massive. So they always knew that he had libertarian supporters. But if he could get Rand Paul, if he could get all the support of those more right-wing libertarians, it helps Trump. The issue with RFK Jr. has been they didn't want to fracture their coalition in trying to get him confirmed. But if getting him confirmed involves libertarians and involves that kind of coalition, it doesn't do that. And I will tell you, a lot of people are saying that if push comes to shove, Trump will back RFK over Tulsi. He feels that RFK delivers more to him in a realm he doesn't know enough about than Tulsi does. You could get another director of national intelligence who would do a good job under Trump. I don't think you could get another HHS secretary that could do what Kennedy could.
Well, he's already done it in the private sector. Okay. And finally, folks, you may have missed this. Caroline Leavitt said it yesterday. It's been out there now. Catholic charities are done. USAID is finished. It's over. Not a nickel is going to fund illegal alien criminal support systems that have been funded by Catholic bishops. The bishops are now going to have to go back to the laity, and they are actually going to have to start acting all Catholic EE and stuff if they want us to support them. So Trump is having an impact across the board. Magda, we will, you'll hopefully be able to join me at some point in commentary over the RFK confirmation hearing, which is set to start any minute now. We will bring it to you live. Thank you very much. And we'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Okay. That, of course, is our Mike Church Show political affairs contributor. Folks, we are having just it's a bang-up day here. Don't go anywhere. We're going to send it to the news, but when the RFK Jr. hearing does commence, we will break in, because when news breaks out, we break in. Remember, 400 tickets. Got to sell them by tomorrow. Shop.mikechurch.com. Shop.mikechurch.com. Subscribe to the YouTube page. Sign up for the notifications. We'll see you in a bit. God bless you, and Mary keep you.